1001 Space Facts to Fall Asleep. To welcome to a journey through the cosmos. Over the next few hours, I'm going to share with you 1001 facts about space. Some will make you question everything you thought you knew, others will fill you with wonder, and hopefully, all of them will guide you gently towards sleep. Get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, and let's drift through the universe together. The observable universe contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies. Each of those galaxies contains millions or billions of stars. The numbers are so vast that our brains can't truly comprehend them, but that's okay. Just let that immensity wash over you. A day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. It takes Venus 243 Earth days to rotate once on its axis, but only 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun. Time works differently out there. Neutron stars are so dense that a teaspoon of their material would weigh about 1 billion tons on Earth. These are the collapsed cores of massive stars, compressed to almost unimaginable density. A neutron star with the mass of our Sun would be only about 20 kilometers across. The footprints left by astronauts on the Moon will remain there for millions of years. There's no wind or water to erode them away. Those marks of human exploration are essentially permanent monuments to our curiosity. Saturn's rings are made mostly of water ice, with some rocky debris mixed in. Despite their enormous appearance, stretching hundreds of thousands of kilometers, they're incredibly thin, in most places only about 10 meters thick. If you made a scale model with rings as thin as paper, the planet would be the size of a house. There's a planet called HD 199733b where it rains glass sideways. The winds on this cobalt blue gas giant reach speeds of 7,000 kilometers per hour, and the silicate particles in the atmosphere form glass rain that whips through the air horizontally. The largest known structure in the universe is the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall, a galactic filament stretching across 10 billion light-years. It's so vast it challenges our understanding of cosmic structure formation. If you could compress Earth down to the size of a marble, it would collapse into a black hole. The same is true for any object. There's a radius, called the Schwarzschild radius, below which anything becomes a black hole. For Earth, that radius is about 9 millimeters. The Boomerang Nebula is the coldest known place in the universe at 1 degree Kelvin, colder even than the background temperature of space. It's a dying star ejecting gas that cools as it expands. Our solar system is traveling through space at about 720,000 kilometers per hour relative to the cosmic microwave background. We're all on a journey through the galaxy, even as we sleep. Jupiter has at least 95 known moons. Some are as small as houses. Others, like Ganymede, are larger than the planet Mercury. Each one is a world unto itself with its own unique features. The Sun makes up 99.86% of the total mass in our solar system. All the planets, moons, asteroids and comets combined account for barely more than 0.1%. We live in a solar system utterly dominated by our star. Light from the Sun takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth. This means we always see the Sun as it was 8 minutes ago. We live in the past when we look at the sky. Mars has the largest volcano in the solar system, Olympus Mons, which stands about 22 kilometers high. That's nearly 3 times the height of Mount Everest, and its base would cover roughly the same area as Arizona. The cosmic microwave background radiation is light left over from the Big Bang, now stretched by the expansion of the universe into microwave wavelengths. When you see static on an old television, about 1% of it is radiation from the birth of the universe. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all of Earth's beaches. And yet, space is so vast that the stars are separated by distances that make them seem infinitely lonely. Black holes aren't actually holes at all. They're incredibly dense objects with gravitational fields so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape once it crosses the event horizon. They're more like cosmic prisons for matter and energy. The Great Red Spot on Jupiter is a storm that has been raging for at least 350 years. It's large enough to swallow Earth whole, though recent observations show it's been shrinking. Astronauts grow taller in space. Without gravity compressing their spines, they can gain up to 2 inches in height. Unfortunately, they shrink back down when they return to Earth. The smell of space, according to astronauts who've been on spacewalks, is described as a mix of hot metal, welding fumes, and seared steak. This odor clings to their spacesuits and is noticed when they return to the airlock. There's enough water ice on Mars to cover the entire planet in an ocean about 35 meters deep if it all melted. Most of it is locked away in the polar ice caps and underground. The Sun will eventually become a red giant, expanding to engulf Mercury, Venus, and possibly Earth. But don't worry, this won't happen for another 5 billion years or so. Every atom in your body heavier than hydrogen was forged in the heart of a star. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, all were created by nuclear fusion in ancient stars that died long before our Sun was born. You are literally made of stardust. The Andromeda Galaxy is hurtling toward the Milky Way at about 400,000 kilometers per hour. In about 4 billion years, the two galaxies will collide and eventually merge into a single, larger galaxy. Space is completely silent. Sound waves need a medium like air or water to travel through, and space is essentially a vacuum. Astronauts communicate via radio waves, which can travel through the vacuum of space. A year on Neptune lasts 165 Earth years. Since its discovery in 1846, Neptune has only completed one full orbit around the Sun, finishing its first observed orbit in 2011. The International Space Station orbits Earth roughly every 90 minutes, meaning astronauts aboard see 16 sunrises and sunsets every day. If two pieces of the same type of metal touch in space, they will bond and become permanently stuck together. This process, called cold welding, happens because there's no air or water separating the atoms. On Earth, oxidation and other processes prevent this from normally occurring. Uranus rotates on its side, with its axis tilted 98 degrees. This means that each pole gets around 42 years of continuous sunlight, followed by 42 years of darkness. Scientists think a massive collision with an Earth-sized object during its formation knocked it over. The hottest planet in our solar system isn't Mercury, even though it's closest to the Sun. It's Venus, where thick clouds of carbon dioxide create a runaway greenhouse effect, raising surface temperatures to about 470 degrees Celsius. There are stars so large that if you placed one where our Sun is, its surface would extend beyond the orbit of Jupiter. Betelgeuse, one of the most famous red supergiants, has a radius about 700 times that of the Sun. Comets have two tails. One is made of dust and follows the comet's orbit, while the other is made of ionized gas and always points away from the Sun, pushed by the solar wind. The Hubble Space Telescope has taken over 1.5 million observations since its launch in 1990. It orbits Earth at an altitude of about 547 kilometers and completes one orbit roughly every 95 minutes. There's a supermassive black hole at the center of nearly every large galaxy, including our own Milky Way. Ours is called Sagittarius A star and has a mass of about 4 million times that of our Sun. The temperature in space isn't uniform. In direct sunlight away from Earth, temperatures can reach 120 degrees Celsius. In shadow, they can plummet to minus 100 degrees Celsius. One day on Mercury lasts 58.6 Earth days, but a year on Mercury is only 88 Earth days. This creates an unusual situation where a day on Mercury is 2/3 as long as its year. The Voyager 1 spacecraft, launched in 1977, is now the most distant human-made object from Earth. It has entered interstellar space and is over 24 billion kilometers away, yet its signals still reach us. Ganymede, Jupiter's largest moon, is the only moon in our solar system known to have its own magnetic field. It's also larger than the planet Mercury. If you were standing on Pluto, the Sun would appear about as bright as a very bright star to us on Earth. You'd still cast a shadow, but high noon on Pluto would feel like deep twilight here. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter contains millions of asteroids, but they're so spread out that if you were flying through it, you'd have to deliberately aim to hit one. Space is mostly empty space. Phobos, one of Mars's two moons, is slowly spiraling toward the planet and will either crash into Mars or break apart to form a ring system in about 50 million years. White dwarfs are so dense that a car-sized chunk of one would weigh as much as Mount Everest. They're the leftover cores of stars like our Sun after they've expelled their outer layers. Saturn could float in water. Its density is less than water's, only about 0.69 grams per cubic centimetre. Of course, you'd need an impossibly large ocean to test this. The universe is expanding, and that expansion is accelerating. Distant galaxies are moving away from us faster and faster, driven by a mysterious force we call dark energy. There are more molecules in a teaspoon of water than there are teaspoons of water in all the oceans on Earth. The microscopic world is as vast in its way as the cosmic one. The Parker Solar Probe has gotten closer to the Sun than any human-made object ever, diving through the solar corona at speeds exceeding 700,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, you could fly from New York to Tokyo in less than a minute. Miranda, a moon of Uranus, has one of the most varied and bizarre landscapes in the solar system. It looks like it was shattered and then haphazardly reassembled. The Oort cloud is a theoretical shell of icy objects surrounding our solar system at a distance of up to 100,000 astronomical units from the Sun. It may contain trillions of comets. When stars much more massive than our Sun die, they explode in supernovae that can briefly outshine entire galaxies. These explosions scatter heavy elements throughout space, seeding the cosmos with the building blocks for new stars, planets, and life. Europa, another of Jupiter's moons, likely has an ocean of liquid water beneath its icy crust that contains more than twice as much water as all of Earth's oceans combined. It's one of the most promising places to search for extraterrestrial life. The speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second in a vacuum. It's not just the speed of light, it's the speed of causality, the fastest that any information can travel through the universe. Io, yet another moon of Jupiter, is the most volcanically active body in the solar system. Its surface is constantly being reshaped by hundreds of active volcanoes, driven by tidal heating from Jupiter's immense gravity. The Sun's core is so hot, about 15 million degrees Celsius, that nuclear fusion reactions convert 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium every single second. Despite this enormous rate, the Sun has enough fuel to keep burning for another 5 billion years. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, has lakes and rivers on its surface. But instead of water, they're filled with liquid methane and ethane. It's the only other body in our solar system besides Earth with stable liquid on its surface. The WOW signal, detected in 1977 by a radio telescope searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence, was a strong narrowband radio signal that lasted 72 seconds. Its origin remains unexplained. Planets can be rogue, wandering through interstellar space without orbiting any star. Some estimates suggest there could be billions of these lonely worlds drifting through our galaxy alone. The Crab Nebula is the expanding remnant of a supernova explosion observed by Chinese astronomers in 1054 CE. They recorded seeing a guest star, bright enough to be visible during the day for weeks. Gravity is the weakest of the four fundamental forces of nature. A small refrigerator magnet can overcome the gravitational pull of the entire Earth when it picks up a paperclip. The equator of Saturn's moon Iapetus has a mountain ridge that runs along almost its entire length, making it look like a walnut. This ridge reaches heights of 20 kilometers in places. Pulsars are rapidly spinning neutron stars that emit beams of radiation from their magnetic poles. As these beams sweep past Earth, we detect regular pulses, like a cosmic lighthouse. Some pulsars spin hundreds of times per second. The temperature of empty space, far from any stars, is about -270 degrees Celsius. This is the temperature of the cosmic microwave background radiation. The Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies are part of a larger structure called the Local Group, which contains over 50 galaxies. The Local Group is, in turn, part of the even larger Virgo supercluster. The largest known diamond in the universe is actually a crystallized white dwarf star. Named BPM 37093, this star has a diamond core roughly 50 light-years across. Solar flares release energy equivalent to millions of 100 megaton nuclear bombs exploding simultaneously. When directed toward Earth, they can disrupt power grids and satellite communications. The average density of the universe is equivalent to about 6 hydrogen atoms per cubic meter. The universe is almost entirely empty space. Hyperion, another moon of Saturn, is shaped like a giant sponge or potato and tumbles chaotically through space instead of keeping one face towards Saturn. Its rotation is unpredictable. Magnetars are a type of neutron star with magnetic fields 1 trillion times stronger than Earth's. These fields are so intense they warp the atoms in the star's crust into elongated cylinders. The Kuiper belt, beyond Neptune's orbit, contains hundreds of thousands of icy bodies. Pluto is one of the largest known Kuiper belt objects. When galaxies collide, the stars within them almost never actually hit each other. The distances between stars are so vast that they simply pass through each other's space, though their gravitational interactions can dramatically reshape both galaxies. Enceladus, a small moon of Saturn, shoots geysers of water, ice and vapor from its south polar region into space. Some of this material feeds Saturn's E-ring, while the rest escapes to form a torus around the planet. The Sun is about 4.6 billion years old, roughly halfway through its main sequence lifetime. It formed from a collapsing cloud of gas and dust, possibly triggered by the shockwave from a nearby supernova. Quasars are the extremely bright centers of distant galaxies, powered by supermassive black holes consuming vast amounts of material. The most luminous quasars can be 1,000 times brighter than the entire Milky Way. Mercury has ice in permanently shadowed craters at its poles, despite being the closest planet to the Sun. These craters never receive sunlight and serve as cold traps for water molecules. The largest known star, UY Scuti, has a radius roughly 1,700 times larger than our Sun. If placed at the center of our solar system, its surface would extend past the orbit of Jupiter. Exoplanets, planets orbiting stars other than our Sun, number in the thousands of confirmed discoveries, with potentially billions more in our galaxy alone. The first confirmed detection was in 1992. Dark matter makes up about 27% of the universe's mass-energy content, yet we've never directly detected it. We know it exists only through its gravitational effects on visible matter. The Great Attractor is a gravitational anomaly in intergalactic space that appears to be drawing our local group of galaxies, along with thousands of others, toward it at millions of kilometers per hour. Solar wind, a stream of charged particles from the Sun, travels through the solar system at speeds between 300 and 800 kilometers per second. When it interacts with Earth's magnetic field, it creates auroras. Triton, Neptune's largest moon, orbits in the opposite direction to Neptune's rotation, a retrograde orbit. This suggests it was captured by Neptune's gravity rather than forming alongside the planet. A spoonful of neutron star material brought to Earth would weigh about 1 billion tons and would immediately collapse, causing a significant explosion as it decompressed. The asteroid Vesta has a mountain near its south pole that stands about 22 kilometers tall, making it one of the highest mountains in the solar system, nearly as tall as Olympusons on Mars. Brown dwarfs are failed stars, objects too massive to be planets, but not massive enough to sustain hydrogen fusion in their cores. They're sometimes called bridge objects between planets and stars. The heliopause is the boundary where the Sun's solar wind is stopped by the interstellar medium. It marks the edge of the Sun's influence and the beginning of interstellar space. Cosmic rays are high-energy particles that travel through space at nearly the speed of light. When they hit Earth's atmosphere, they create cascades of secondary particles that rain down on the surface. The Carrington event of 1859 was the most powerful solar storm in recorded history. Telegraph systems worldwide failed. Some operators received electric shocks, and auroras were seen as far south as the Caribbean. Deimos, the smaller of Mars' 2 moons, is only about 12 kilometers across. It's so small and distant from Mars that if you stood on the Martian surface, it would look more like a very bright star than a moon. Nebulae are vast clouds of dust and gas in space. Some are stellar nurseries where new stars form, while others are the remains of dead stars. They come in many colors depending on their composition and the light sources illuminating them. The Drake equation is a probabilistic argument used to estimate the number of active communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way. Different estimates of its variables yield vastly different results. Gravitational lensing occurs when light from distant objects is bent by the gravity of massive objects between them and Earth. This can create multiple images or rings of the same distant galaxy. The Fermi paradox asks, if the universe is so vast and old, why haven't we encountered evidence of other civilizations? Many potential explanations exist, from the mundane to the unsettling. Ceres is the largest object in the asteroid belt and was the first to be discovered in 1801. It's now classified as a dwarf planet and contains roughly a third of the asteroid belt's total mass. The cosmic web is the large-scale structure of the universe, with galaxies arranged along filaments separated by vast voids. It looks remarkably like the structure of neurons in a brain. Cassiopeia A is a supernova remnant in our galaxy, the remains of a star that exploded about 340 years ago. The light from the explosion didn't reach Earth until 1680. The perihelion of Mercury's orbit, its closest approach to the Sun, precesses or rotates in a way that couldn't be fully explained by Newtonian physics. This anomaly was one of the first confirmations of Einstein's general relativity. Globular clusters are ancient, spherical collections of stars that orbit galaxies. The Milky Way has about 150 known globular clusters, some containing millions of stars. Lagrange points are positions in space where the gravitational forces of two large bodies like Earth and the Sun balance in such a way that a smaller object placed there will remain stable. The James Webb Space Telescope orbits one of these points. The observable universe has a radius of about 46.5 billion light-years, despite being only 13.8 billion years old. This is because space itself has been expanding while light travels through it. Pluto's largest moon, Charon, is so big relative to Pluto that the two orbit a common center of mass that lies outside Pluto itself. Some astronomers consider them a binary system rather than a planet and moon. The local bubble is a cavity in the interstellar medium of our galaxy, about 300 light-years across, filled with hot, low-density gas. Our solar system has been inside it for millions of years. Gamma-ray bursts are the most energetic events in the universe since the Big Bang. They're thought to be produced by the collapse of massive stars or the merger of neutron stars. The asteroid Bennu has a roughly 1 in 2,700 chance of impacting Earth in the late 2200s. NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission studied it to better understand its orbit. Olympus Mons on Mars is not only the tallest volcano in the solar system, but also the tallest known mountain, standing at about 22 kilometers high and spanning 600 kilometers at its base. The cosmic microwave background has a temperature of about 2.7 Kelvin. It's nearly uniform in all directions, with tiny fluctuations that represent the seeds of all current large-scale structure. Proxima Centauri is the nearest known star to our solar system at just over 4 light-years away. It's a small red dwarf that's part of the Alpha Centauri triple star system. The zodiacal light is a faint glow visible in the night sky, caused by sunlight reflecting off dust particles in the plane of the solar system. It's best seen from dark locations just after sunset or before sunrise. Halley's Comet orbits the Sun roughly every 76 years. It last appeared in 1986 and won't return until 2061. Historical records of its appearances go back thousands of years. The Van Allen radiation belts are zones of energetic charged particles trapped by Earth's magnetic field. They were discovered by the first American satellite, Explorer 1, in 1958. M87, a supergiant elliptical galaxy, contains the first black hole ever photographed by the Event Horizon Telescope. The black hole has a mass of 6.5 billion times that of our Sun. The Horsehead Nebula is a dark nebula in the constellation Orion, shaped like a horse's head. It's actually a thick cloud of dust blocking light from the bright nebula behind it. Vega was the northern pole star around 12,000 BCE and will be again in about 13,000 years. Earth's axis precesses, tracing a circle in the sky over a period of about 26,000 years. The heliosphere is the bubble-like region of space, dominated by the Sun's solar wind. It extends well beyond the orbit of Pluto and protects the solar system from much of the interstellar radiation. Supernovae are classified into different types based on their light curves and spectra. Type 1a supernovae, caused by exploding white dwarfs, are so consistent in brightness they're used as standard candles to measure cosmic distances. Olympia Mons is so massive that if you stood at its base and looked up, you wouldn't see the peak. It would curve away beyond the horizon due to Mars's curvature. The solar apex is the direction that our solar system is moving through the local galactic neighborhood. We're heading toward a point in the constellation Hercules at about 20 kilometers per second. Callisto, the outermost of Jupiter's 4 large moons, is the most heavily cratered object in the solar system. Its ancient surface has remained relatively unchanged for billions of years. The pillars of creation, photographed by the Hubble Space Telescope in the Eagle Nebula, are actually columns of cool molecular hydrogen and dust where new stars are forming. They're about 5 light-years tall. The asteroid belt contains about 3 to 3.6 billion objects larger than 1 kilometer in diameter. Despite science fiction depictions, spacecraft can pass through it with minimal risk of collision. Moons can have moons. These moons or submoons are theoretically possible but haven't been observed. Most moons orbit too close to their planets for a stable submoon orbit to exist. The planet Kelt 9b is so hot, over 4,000 degrees Celsius, that molecules cannot exist on its day side. Heavy metals vaporize into the atmosphere, only to condense and rain down on the cooler night side. Starquakes occur on neutron stars when their solid crust cracks and readjusts. These can release enormous amounts of energy and cause the star's rotation to suddenly change. The Milky Way contains an estimated 100 to 400 billion stars. On a clear, dark night away from light pollution, you can see about 2,000 to 3,000 of them with the naked eye. Tidal locking occurs when an object's orbital period matches its rotational period, keeping one face always pointed toward the object it orbits. Our moon is tidally locked to Earth. Panspermia is the hypothesis that life exists throughout the universe and can be spread between worlds via asteroids, comets, or even deliberately by advanced civilizations. While intriguing, it remains scientifically controversial. The Lyman Alpha Forest is a series of absorption lines in the spectra of distant quasars created as light passes through clouds of hydrogen gas between the quasar and Earth. It provides information about the early universe. S5HVS1 is a hypervelocity star that was ejected from the Milky Way's center after a close encounter with Sagittarius A star. It's traveling at about 6 million kilometers per hour. Mount Sharp on Mars is about 5 kilometers tall and sits in the center of Gale Crater, where NASA's Curiosity rover has been exploring since 2012. The Thorne-Jitkow object is a hypothetical type of star where a neutron star is surrounded by a large, diffuse envelope. Only one candidate has been identified so far. The WOW signal remains one of astronomy's greatest mysteries. Despite decades of subsequent observations of the same region of sky, nothing similar has been detected. Red sprites and blue jets are electrical phenomena that occur above thunderstorms, reaching into the upper atmosphere. They weren't confirmed to exist until the 1980s because they're so brief and difficult to observe. Dyson spheres are hypothetical megastructures that could completely surround a star to capture all of its energy output. No confirmed examples have been found despite searches for their waste heat signature. The zone of avoidance is an area of the sky obscured by our own galaxy's disk, making it difficult to observe distant galaxies behind it. Radio and infrared observations can peer through the dust. Phosphine was reportedly detected in Venus's atmosphere in 2020, which caused excitement because on Earth it's primarily produced by biological processes. The finding remains controversial and debated. The Methuselah star, officially named HD 140283, is one of the oldest known stars at about 14.5 billion years old, nearly as old as the universe itself. Trans-Neptunian objects are bodies that orbit the Sun at greater average distances than Neptune. There are hundreds of thousands of them larger than 100 kilometers across. The Shapley supercluster is one of the largest structures in the nearby universe, containing over 8,000 galaxies. It's part of an even larger structure called the Shapley concentration. Gravitational waves are ripples in space-time caused by accelerating massive objects. The first direct detection occurred in 2015 from the merger of two black holes. Algol, known as the Demon Star, is an eclipsing binary system where one star regularly passes in front of another, causing its apparent brightness to drop by about 70% every 2.8 days. Ultima Thule, now officially named Arrokoth, is the most distant object ever explored by a spacecraft. NASA's New Horizons probe flew by it in 2019, revealing a contact binary resembling a snowman. The Sun's atmosphere, or corona, is paradoxically much hotter than its surface. The corona reaches temperatures of millions of degrees, while the surface is only about 5,500 degrees. Scientists are still working to fully explain this. Tabby's star showed unusual dimming patterns that briefly led to speculation about alien megastructures. The most likely explanation involves irregular clouds of dust orbiting the star. Apophis is an asteroid that will pass extremely close to Earth in 2029, closer than some satellites. It will be visible to the naked eye as it zips past. The Great Cold Spot on Jupiter is a dark, cold region in the planet's upper atmosphere. Unlike the Great Red Spot, it's not a storm, but an area of enhanced cooling. Gravitational microlensing occurs when a nearby star passes in front of a more distant one, briefly magnifying its light. This technique has been used to discover exoplanets. The Bullet Cluster is actually two colliding galaxy clusters. Observations of it provided some of the strongest evidence for dark matter's existence. Fast radio bursts are brief, intense pulses of radio waves from distant galaxies. Their exact cause remains unknown, though many theories exist. The cosmic calendar is a way to visualize cosmic history by compressing the 13.8 billion year age of the universe into a single year. On this scale, all of recorded human history occurs in the last 14 seconds before midnight on December 31st. Betelgeuse, the red supergiant in Orion, is nearing the end of its life and could explode as a supernova at any time, meaning anywhere from tomorrow to 100,000 years from now. When it does, it will briefly rival the full moon in brightness. The cosmic neutrino background is a sea of neutrinos left over from the Big Bang, similar to the cosmic microwave background, but even harder to detect. We've never observed it directly. Goldilocks zone is the informal name for the habitable zone around a star, where conditions might be right for liquid water to exist on a planet's surface. Not too hot, not too cold. Barnard's star is the second nearest star system to Earth at 6 light-years away. It's a red dwarf moving relatively quickly across our sky. The asteroid Psyche appears to be the exposed metal core of a protoplanet that was stripped of its outer layers. A NASA mission is on its way to explore it. Noctilucent clouds are the highest clouds in Earth's atmosphere, forming about 85 kilometers up in the mesosphere. They're made of ice crystals and are best seen during twilight. The Sun's magnetic field flips roughly every 11 years, marking the solar cycle. During solar maximum, sunspots and flares are more frequent. Sedna is a distant trans-Neptunian object with an extremely elongated orbit that takes about 11,000 years to complete. Its orbital characteristics suggest it might have been influenced by an undiscovered planet or a passing star. The planet Uranus was originally going to be called George after King George III by its discoverer, William Herschel. Fortunately, the name didn't stick. Gravitational slingshot maneuvers use a planet's gravity and orbital motion to accelerate spacecraft, allowing them to reach destinations they couldn't with rockets alone. Voyager used multiple slingshots to reach the outer solar system. The square-kilometer array, when complete, will be the world's largest radio telescope, with thousands of antennas spread across multiple continents working together. Chondrites are primitive meteorites that contain small spherical grains called chondrules. They're thought to preserve material from the early solar system relatively unchanged. The Kessler syndrome is a theoretical scenario where the density of objects in orbit reaches a point where collisions create a cascade of debris, making space activities increasingly dangerous. Hot Jupiters are gas giant exoplanets that orbit very close to their stars, completing an orbit in just a few days. They shouldn't exist there according to planet formation theories, yet they're relatively common. Wolf-Rayet stars are massive stars that have lost their outer hydrogen layers, exposing their hot helium cores. They have powerful stellar winds that blow away their mass at incredible rates. The Magellanic Clouds are two dwarf irregular galaxies visible from the southern hemisphere. They're satellite galaxies of the Milky Way, orbiting it as it orbits within the local group. The Oh My God particle was an ultra-high-energy cosmic ray detected in 1991 with energy comparable to a baseball thrown at 100 kilometers per hour, except it was a subatomic particle. Phobos rises in the west and sets in the east on Mars because it orbits faster than Mars rotates. To an observer on Mars, it crosses the sky in about 4 hours. Planet 9 is a hypothetical planet that may exist in the outer solar system. Its existence has been proposed to explain the unusual orbits of several trans-Neptunian objects. The Sudbury Basin in Ontario, Canada, is one of Earth's oldest and largest impact craters, about 62 kilometers across. The asteroid that created it struck around 1.85 billion years ago. Epsilon Eridani is a nearby star similar to a young sun. It has at least one confirmed planet and shows evidence of a debris disk, making it interesting for planet formation studies. The Kardashev scale is a method of measuring a civilization's technological advancement based on energy usage. A Type 1 civilization uses all energy available on its planet. Type 2 harnesses its star's entire output. Type 3 controls its galaxy. Techno-signatures are indicators of technology that could reveal the presence of extraterrestrial civilizations. Radio signals, atmospheric pollution, and large-scale engineering projects are all potential techno-signatures. The Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer on the International Space Station is searching for antimatter and dark matter by precisely measuring cosmic rays. It's one of the most expensive scientific instruments ever built. Olympus Mons is actually a shield volcano, the same type as the Hawaiian volcanoes. Its gentle slopes are the result of very fluid lava flows that traveled long distances before solidifying. The asteroid Oumuamua passed through our solar system in 2017. Its unusual elongated shape and slight acceleration as it left led to speculation it might be an alien probe, though natural explanations are more likely. The Radcliffe Wave is a recently discovered wave-like structure of interconnected stellar nurseries in our galactic neighborhood. It's about 9,000 light-years long and contains millions of young stars. Space-time crystals are theoretical structures that repeat not just in space, but also in time. They would represent a new phase of matter. The Moon's south pole has areas that are permanently shadowed and extremely cold, while nearby peaks experience near-constant sunlight. This makes it attractive for potential lunar bases. Messier 87 is a giant elliptical galaxy about 53 million light-years away. It was the first galaxy to have its jet photographed and contains over 2 trillion stars. Rogue planets can actually be quite warm due to residual heat from their formation and radioactive decay in their cores. Some might even have subsurface oceans. The galactic center region contains an unusual cluster of massive young stars in an area where star formation shouldn't easily occur due to tidal forces from the supermassive black hole. Cepheid variables are stars that pulsate regularly, with periods ranging from days to months. Their period is directly related to their intrinsic luminosity, making retry and continue them invaluable for measuring cosmic distances. The solar wind creates a bow shock where it collides with Venus's atmosphere, similar to the wake a boat creates in water. Venus lacks a global magnetic field to protect it like Earth has. Epsilon Aurigae is a binary star system where one component is hidden within a massive disk of material. Every 27 years, this disk eclipses the visible star for nearly 2 years. The twin paradox is a thought experiment in relativity, where a twin traveling at near light speed ages more slowly than their Earth-bound sibling. Time truly passes differently for them. Mira is a red giant that's shedding its outer layers as it travels through space, leaving behind a tail of material 13 light-years long. It's creating a cosmic wake as it moves. The solar system's barycenter, the center of mass around which all bodies orbit, is usually outside the Sun's surface, especially when Jupiter and Saturn are aligned on the same side. Soft gamma repeaters are neutron stars that occasionally emit huge bursts of gamma rays. They're thought to be magnetars undergoing starquakes or magnetic field rearrangements. The Milky Way's disk is warped, not flat. This warp increases with distance from the galactic center and may be caused by interactions with satellite galaxies. Interstellar molecules include complex organic compounds like amino acids. Over 200 different molecules have been detected in interstellar space, including ethanol. The Moon is slowly moving away from Earth at about 3.8 centimeters per year. Billions of years ago, it was much closer and appeared much larger in the sky. Jupiter's moon Europa has a very thin oxygen atmosphere, created when radiation breaks apart water molecules on its icy surface. It's far too thin for humans to breathe. VY Canis Majoris is one of the largest known stars, though measurements are difficult. It's a red hypergiant losing mass so rapidly it might explode as a supernova within the next 100,000 years. The planet HD 8512b has been observed evaporating, creating a massive cloud of hydrogen around it. It's losing about 6 billion kilograms of atmosphere per second. Haumea is a dwarf planet beyond Neptune that spins so fast it's been stretched into an elongated shape like an egg. It completes one rotation in less than 4 hours. The universe's expansion was unknown until Edwin Hubble's observations in the 1920s. Before then, most scientists thought the universe was static and eternal. Trojan asteroids share an orbit with a planet, sitting in stable Lagrange points 60 degrees ahead or behind it. Jupiter has the most known Trojans, but other planets have them too. The Tunguska event of 1908 was likely caused by a meteor or comet exploding in the atmosphere over Siberia, flattening trees across 2,000 square kilometers. No crater was ever found. Hoag's object is a ring galaxy consisting of a near-perfect ring of young blue stars surrounding a core of older yellow stars, with a gap between them. Its formation remains mysterious. The Sun's luminosity has increased by about 30% over its lifetime. Early Earth should have been frozen, yet we know it had liquid water. This is called the faint young sun paradox. Titan's atmosphere is denser than Earth's at the surface. Combined with the Moon's low gravity, a human with wings attached to their arms could actually fly there. Gravitational time dilation means that clocks on GPS satellites run slightly faster than clocks on Earth's surface. The system has to account for this, or navigation would quickly become inaccurate. The cosmic ray flux is fairly constant, which has allowed scientists to date ancient artifacts by measuring the isotopes created when cosmic rays strike the atmosphere. Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at our galaxy's center, is relatively quiet. It's not actively feeding on large amounts of matter, unlike the quasars we see in distant galaxies. Iridium flares were bright flashes in the night sky caused by sunlight reflecting off iridium communication satellites. The original constellation has been replaced, ending these distinctive flashes. The Sloan Great Wall is a cosmic structure containing a long chain of galaxies spanning about 1.37 billion light-years. It's one of the largest known structures. Methane has been detected on Mars by various instruments, and its concentration seems to vary with season. The source remains unknown. It could be geological or biological. The asteroid Ceres has bright spots on its surface that turned out to be deposits of sodium carbonate and other salts, likely from briny water that percolated up from below. Pulsating variable stars change in brightness as they physically expand and contract. Different types of variables have different pulsation mechanisms and periods. The cosmic distance ladder is a series of methods astronomers use to measure progressively greater distances. Each rung is calibrated using the previous one. Binary star systems where both stars are white dwarfs can eventually merge and explode as type Ia supernovae. These are the explosions used to measure the universe's accelerating expansion. The Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex uses massive radio dishes to communicate with distant spacecraft. It can detect signals from Voyager that are 20 billion times fainter than a watch battery. Tidal heating occurs when gravitational forces from a planet stretch and squeeze a moon, generating internal heat through friction. This is why Io is so volcanically active. The cosmological principle states that the universe is homogeneous and isotropic on large scales. It looks roughly the same everywhere and in every direction. Observations support this. Asteroid Itokawa, visited by Japan's Hayabusa spacecraft, is a rubble pile, a loose collection of rocks held together by gravity. Many asteroids may have this structure. The OBA Fine Girl Kiss Me sequence is a mnemonic for stellar spectral classifications, OBAFGKM. These go from hottest to coolest. Kirkwood gaps are regions in the asteroid belt with few asteroids caused by orbital resonances with Jupiter. Asteroids in these regions get gravitationally nudged into different orbits over time. The planet WASP-12b is being consumed by its star. It's so close that stellar tides are distorting it into an egg shape and stripping away its atmosphere. Cosmic voids are vast regions of space containing very few galaxies. The largest known void is about 2 billion light-years across. The weak anthropic principle notes that we observe the universe's properties to be compatible with life because if they weren't, we wouldn't be here to observe them. It's a selection effect. Neutron stars can have mountains only millimeters high. Their intense gravity prevents any surface features from rising much above the surrounding terrain. The asteroid Lutetia has an ancient, heavily cratered surface that has preserved a record of impacts from the early solar system. It's one of the few metal-rich asteroids close enough for detailed study. Gravitational potential energy from infalling matter gets converted to heat near black holes, creating the brightest sustained objects in the universe, quasars and active galactic nuclei. The observable universe contains about 10 to the 80th atoms. That's a 1 followed by 80 zeros, a number so large it's almost meaningless. Strange stars are hypothetical objects made of strange quark matter, even denser than neutron stars. If they exist, they'd represent a state of matter we can't create in laboratories. The WOW signal came from the direction of Sagittarius, near the star group Chi Sagittarii. Extensive follow-up observations have found nothing unusual. The stellar density near the Sun is about 0.004 stars per cubic light-year. Space is incredibly empty, even in our stellar neighborhood. Hypervelocity stars are traveling so fast they'll eventually escape the galaxy entirely. Most were likely ejected by close encounters with our galaxy's central black hole. The Moon's far side has a thicker crust than the near side and far fewer maria, the dark plains of solidified lava. The reason for this asymmetry is still debated. Redshift measures how much light has been stretched as the universe expands. Greater redshift means greater distance and that we're seeing the object as it was longer ago. The asteroid belt's total mass is only about 3% of the Moon's mass. If you could gather all the asteroids together, they'd form an object much smaller than our Moon. Supermassive black holes can have masses of billions of suns. They're found at the centers of most large galaxies and somehow formed very early in the universe's history. The zodiacal cloud is a thick disk of dust in the inner solar system, left behind by comets and asteroids. It reflects sunlight, creating the zodiacal light. Cosmic inflation is a theory that the universe underwent exponential expansion in its first fraction of a second. This explains why the universe appears so uniform on large scales. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is shrinking. Observations from the 1800s show it was much larger then, about 40,000 kilometers across compared to 16,000 today. Herschel crater on Saturn's moon Mimas is so large relative to the Moon that the impact that created it nearly shattered Mimas entirely. It gives the Moon an uncanny resemblance to the Death Star. The Bok globules are dark clouds of dense cosmic dust that block background starlight. They're often sites of star formation. Blazar jets can appear to move faster than light, a phenomenon called superluminal motion. It's an illusion caused by the jet moving toward us at near light speed. The asteroid Bennu is one of the darkest objects in the solar system, reflecting only about 4% of the light that hits it. It's extremely carbon-rich. White dwarf stars eventually cool to become black dwarfs, cold, dark stellar remnants. However, the universe isn't old enough for any black dwarfs to exist yet. The Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope has mapped the entire gamma-ray sky, revealing everything from supernova remnants to distant blazes to mysterious unidentified sources. Helium was discovered in the Sun's spectrum before it was found on Earth. Its name comes from Helios, the Greek god of the sun. The cosmic web's structure was predicted by computer simulations before being confirmed by observations. Dark matter's gravity shaped it. Theia is the name given to the hypothetical Mars-sized planet that collided with early Earth, creating the debris that became the Moon. Evidence for this giant impact comes from lunar samples. The star HD 101907 has a planet with such a tight orbit that its year lasts only 29 hours. The planet is likely doomed, spiraling into its star. Cosmic strings are hypothetical one-dimensional defects in space-time that may have formed during the early universe. If they exist, they'd be thinner than an atom, but incredibly massive. The antennae galaxies are two spiral galaxies currently colliding, about 65 million light-years away. The collision has triggered intense star formation. Frame dragging is an effect predicted by general relativity, where rotating massive objects drag spacetime around with them. It's been measured around Earth, using satellites. The planet Korot 7b is thought to have a surface of vaporized rock. It orbits so close to its star that the day side reaches temperatures where rocks evaporate. Hawking radiation is theoretical radiation emitted by black holes due to quantum effects near the event horizon. Over enormous timescales, this would cause black holes to evaporate. The Alpha Centauri system actually contains 3 stars. Alpha Centauri A and B orbit each other closely, while Proxima Centauri orbits them at a great distance. Space weather refers to conditions in space as affected by the sun. During solar storms, radiation levels increase and can damage satellites or even affect power grids on Earth. The Moon's regolith, the layer of loose rock on the surface, is several meters thick in most places. It was created by billions of years of meteorite impacts. Gravitational waves from merging black holes have been detected at frequencies corresponding to sound waves. Scientists have created audio files of these cosmic collisions. The Drake equation includes factors like the rate of star formation, the fraction with planets, the number of habitable planets per system, and the fraction where life develops intelligence. S Doradus is one of the most luminous stars known, shining with the power of about 1 million suns. It's extremely unstable and varies unpredictably in brightness. The asteroid Psyche may represent $16 quintillion worth of iron, nickel, and other metals if we could somehow mine it and bring it back to Earth. Deuterium is heavy hydrogen with an extra neutron. The universe's deuterium abundance provides clues about conditions in the first few minutes after the Big Bang. The Galilean moons were the first objects found orbiting something other than Earth. Their discovery proved not everything orbited Earth, supporting the heliocentric model. A light-year is about 9.5 trillion kilometers. The nearest star is over 4 light-years away, meaning even light takes years to cross interstellar distances. Obliquity is the angle between a planet's rotational axis and its orbital plane. Earth's obliquity of 23.5 degrees gives us our seasons. The planet Gliese 436b is a hot Neptune that somehow kept its atmosphere despite orbiting very close to its star, which should have stripped it away. Cosmic censorship is a conjecture that singularities, where physics breaks down, are always hidden inside black holes' event horizons, never naked and visible to the outside universe. The Spitzer Space Telescope, which operated in infrared, discovered a massive ring around Saturn, tilted relative to the planet and extending far beyond the visible rings. Aurorae occur on other planets too. Jupiter and Saturn have permanent auroral displays at their poles, powered by their strong magnetic fields and rapid rotation. The temperature at the center of a star undergoing a supernova can reach 100 billion degrees Celsius for a brief moment, hotter than any other naturally occurring temperature. The Kordylewski clouds are large concentrations of dust at Earth-Moon Lagrange points. They're extremely faint and were only confirmed recently. Pulsar timing can be used for navigation in space, like a cosmic GPS. Different pulsars provide reference points that spacecraft could use to determine their position. Brown dwarfs glow in infrared from their residual heat, fading over billions of years. The coolest ones have temperatures similar to a hot cup of coffee. The Mars rover Curiosity detected organic molecules in Martian rocks, which could be from ancient microbial life, from non-biological chemistry, or from meteorites. The cosmic microwave background has a dipole anisotropy. It's slightly warmer in one direction and cooler in the opposite direction. This is caused by our motion through space. Globular clusters are ancient, typically over 10 billion years old. They formed in the early universe and orbit galaxies in vast halos. The Sun's outer atmosphere, the corona, has structures called coronal loops, arches of plasma following magnetic field lines. They can tower hundreds of thousands of kilometers above the surface. Spectroscopy allows us to determine what distant objects are made of by analyzing the wavelengths of light they emit or absorb. Different elements create unique spectral signatures. The zodiacal light is bright enough that it contributed to light pollution concerns even in ancient times. In very dark locations, it can cast faint shadows. Moons can orbit planets retrograde, opposite to the planet's rotation. This usually indicates they were captured rather than forming alongside the planet. The cosmic distance record for a detected galaxy keeps being broken as telescopes improve. We've now seen galaxies, as they were just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang. Jupiter's magnetosphere is enormous. If we could see it from Earth, it would appear several times larger than the full moon, despite Jupiter being so far away. The asteroid Apophis will pass close enough to Earth in 20099 that Earth's gravity will noticeably change its orbit, altering when future close approaches occur. Solar nebula is the name for the cloud of gas and dust from which our solar system formed. Its composition came from previous generations of stars. The Milky Way's supermassive black hole is quiet now, but evidence suggests it had active feeding periods in the past, including one about 6 million years ago. Planet HD 188753b is roughly the same size as Jupiter, but orbits its star in only 3.5 days. Tidal forces have likely synchronized its rotation. Orbital mechanics means that speeding up in orbit actually makes you go slower. You move to a higher orbit where you travel at a lower speed, but take longer to complete a revolution. The Great Rift is a series of dark dust clouds that appears to split the Milky Way in two when viewed from Earth. It's especially prominent in the constellation Cygnus. Tidal forces from the Sun and Moon raise Earth's crust by about 30 centimeters twice daily, similar to ocean tides, but we don't notice because the entire landscape moves together. The star Fomalhaut has a prominent dust disk with a gap, suggesting planets have formed there. One planet candidate, Fomalhaut b, remains controversial. The Planck length, about 10 to the minus 35 meters, is thought to be the smallest meaningful length scale in physics. Below this, quantum effects make the concept of distance break down. Cosmic rays can cause computer errors by striking memory chips, a phenomenon called single-event upsets. This is more common at high altitudes and in space. The asteroid belt's water content, locked in minerals, may exceed Earth's oceans. Some scientists propose asteroids delivered Earth's water through ancient impacts. Redshift can reach values greater than 10 for the most distant observed galaxies, meaning they're receding from us faster than light speed, which is allowed because space itself is expanding. The Eddington limit is the maximum luminosity a star can have before radiation pressure pushes its outer layers away. It depends on the star's mass. Jupiter's moon Callisto shows no signs of geological activity. It's essentially a museum of the early solar system, its surface unchanged for billions of years. The term quasar is short for quasi-stellar radio source, because when first discovered they looked like stars but emitted powerful radio waves. Venus rotates so slowly that its solar day, from one sunrise to the next, is 117 Earth days long, even though its sidereal rotation takes 243 Earth days. Lagrangian mechanics provides an elegant mathematical framework for understanding orbital dynamics, using the principle that systems follow paths that minimize action. The Kuiper belt is sometimes called the final frontier of the classical solar system. Beyond it lies the scattered disk, then the Oort cloud, regions we've barely begun to explore. Primordial black holes are hypothetical black holes that formed in the early universe from density fluctuations. If they exist, some could be very small, even microscopic. The metallicity of stars, the abundance of elements heavier than hydrogen and helium, correlates with planet formation. Metal-rich stars are more likely to have planets. Gravitational potential wells are often visualized as depressions in a rubber sheet, though this is imperfect. Mass curves space-time itself, not just space. The Sun's convection zone extends from about 70% of its radius to its surface. Here, energy is transported by rising hot gas and sinking cool gas. Europa Clipper is a planned NASA mission to study Jupiter's moon Europa, making dozens of close flybys to investigate its icy shell and subsurface ocean. The planet Qatar 1b is darker than charcoal, reflecting less than 5% of light. It's extremely hot and tidally locked to its star. Cosmic time measures how long ago events occurred in the universe's history, accounting for time dilation effects. A look-back time of 10 billion years means we see objects as they were then. The Yarkovsky effect causes small asteroids to drift in their orbits due to the way they absorb sunlight and re-emit it as heat. This subtle effect can significantly alter orbits over time. The star Mu Cephei is one of the largest and most luminous stars visible to the naked eye. It's a red supergiant expected to explode as a supernova eventually. False vacuum decay is a hypothetical event where the universe could suddenly transition to a lower energy state, fundamentally changing the laws of physics. If it happens, we wouldn't see it coming. The moon illusion makes the moon appear larger when near the horizon, though it's actually the same angular size. This is a psychological effect, not astronomical. The asteroid Bennu has such low gravity that if you dropped a rock from shoulder height, it would take about 15 minutes to reach the surface. Solar maximum brings more sunspots, flares, and coronal mass ejections. It also means more frequent and intense auroras at both poles. The coldest natural temperature ever recorded was in the Boomerang Nebula at 1 Kelvin. In laboratories, scientists have reached within a billionth of a degree of absolute zero. The star system Kepler-64 has a planet orbiting 2 stars, which themselves orbit another pair of stars. It's a planet in a quadruple star system. Cosmic variance refers to statistical uncertainties that arise because we can only observe one universe from one location. We can't run multiple experiments or observe from elsewhere. Miranda's jumbled terrain suggests it might have been shattered by an impact and reassembled, though its formation history remains uncertain. The Drake equation currently has huge uncertainties in most of its factors. Different reasonable estimates yield results ranging from "we're alone" to millions of civilizations. Jupiter's moon Io has a thin sulfur dioxide atmosphere that collapses at night when it freezes onto the surface, then sublimates again at dawn. The asteroid Ida has its own moon, Dactyl, the first asteroid moon ever discovered. Many asteroids are now known to have companions. The earliest stars, population 3 stars, consisted only of hydrogen, helium, and trace lithium. They had no heavier elements because none existed yet. None have been observed, as they all died long ago. Cosmic rays are mostly protons, but include heavier nuclei all the way up to iron and beyond. They provide information about distant cosmic events. The Roche limit is the distance within which a moon held together only by gravity will be torn apart by tidal forces. Saturn's rings lie within Saturn's Roche limit. Red dwarfs will be the last stars still shining in the far future. They burn so slowly that the smallest ones will last trillions of years, hundreds of times the current age of the universe. The cosmic background radiation has cooled from thousands of degrees at the time of recombination to just under 3 degrees Kelvin today, stretched by the universe's expansion. Lightning storms on Saturn are thousands of times more powerful than those on Earth, creating radiostatic that can be detected by spacecraft. The asteroid Vesta is the second largest asteroid and the brightest as seen from Earth. It's differentiated with a core, mantle, and crust like a planet. Neutron degeneracy pressure, the quantum mechanical effect that prevents neutrons from occupying the same quantum state, is what supports neutron stars against collapse. The James Webb Space Telescope orbits the Sun at the second Lagrange point, about 1.5 million kilometers from Earth. It will study the early universe in unprecedented detail. Venus Express detected lightning on Venus, confirming that electrical storms occur in the planet's sulfuric acid clouds. The cosmic web forms because matter was slightly denser in some regions of the early universe. Gravity amplified these density differences over billions of years. Makemake is a dwarf planet in the Kuiper Belt, notable for lacking a significant atmosphere despite being large enough that one might be expected. The Sun contains 99.86% of the solar system's mass, but only about 0.5% of its angular momentum. Most rotational energy is in the planet's orbits. Space adaptation syndrome, or space sickness, affects about half of astronauts during their first few days in orbit as their vestibular systems adjust to weightlessness. The planet HD 80606b has an atmosphere with high-altitude clouds made of corundum, the same mineral that forms rubies and sapphires. Betelgeuse's recent dimming episode in 2019 raised speculation it might explode soon, though it was likely just a large dust cloud passing in front of it. The cosmological principle has been tested by surveys mapping millions of galaxies, and on the largest scales, the universe does appear uniform. Jupiter generates more heat internally than it receives from the Sun. It's still contracting slowly from its formation, converting gravitational potential energy to heat. The Moon's orbit is gradually tilting relative to Earth's equator. In the distant future, this precession will have carried it through a complete cycle. Asteroid belts may be common around other stars. Infrared observations reveal dusty disks around many stars, suggesting asteroid collisions are grinding them down. The Sun's gravitational influence, its Hill sphere, extends about 2 light-years. Beyond that, passing stars' gravity becomes comparable to the Sun's. The Vera Rubin Observatory will survey the entire visible southern sky every few nights, creating a movie of the changing universe and discovering countless transient events. Hyperion is the largest irregularly shaped moon in the solar system. Most moons above about 400 kilometers become spherical under their own gravity, but not Hyperion. The early universe underwent a period called recombination when it cooled enough for electrons and protons to combine into neutral hydrogen. This made the universe transparent to light. Saturn's hexagonal polar storm is a 6-sided jet stream pattern at the North Pole, about 30,000 kilometers across. Each side is longer than Earth's diameter. The interstellar medium contains about 1 atom per cubic centimeter on average. In the densest molecular clouds, it can reach thousands per cubic centimeter. Gamma-ray bursts release more energy in seconds than the Sun will emit in its entire lifetime. The beamed radiation from one could sterilize Earth if it occurred close enough and aimed at us. The Moon's exosphere is so thin, it's effectively a vacuum, yet it contains sodium, potassium, and other atoms knocked off the surface by solar wind and meteorite impacts. Binary star systems where one star is a black hole can create X-ray emissions as the black hole strips matter from its companion. The ecliptic is the plane of Earth's orbit, and most solar system objects orbit close to it. This is because they all formed from the same flattened disk of material. Jupiter's interior pressure is so extreme that hydrogen is compressed into a metallic state, conducting electricity and generating the planet's powerful magnetic field. Space is a near-perfect vacuum, but it's not truly empty. There's gas, dust, magnetic fields, radiation, and mysterious dark matter and dark energy. The Great Dark Spot on Neptune, similar to Jupiter's Great Red Spot, disappeared between Voyager's observations in 1989 and Hubble observations in 1994. Quantum entanglement has been demonstrated between particles separated by large distances, allowing instant correlations. While information can't be transmitted faster than light this way, it's still deeply mysterious. The asteroid belt may have once contained enough material to form a planet, but Jupiter's gravity prevented it, instead stirring up the region and causing collisions that ground larger bodies down. Red giant stars have extended, cool outer layers but extremely hot dense cores where helium fusion occurs. Their surface temperatures are lower than the Sun's, despite being more luminous. The Spitzer Space Telescope discovered 7 Earth-sized planets around the star TRAPPIST-1, 40 light-years away. 3 orbit in the habitable zone. The Chandrasekhar limit, about 1.4 solar masses, is the maximum mass of a white dwarf. Beyond this, electron degeneracy pressure can't support the star and it collapses. Io's surface is constantly being resurfaced by volcanic activity, making it the youngest surface in the solar system, in places only a few years old. Time dilation means astronauts on the ISS age slightly slower than people on Earth, about 0.01 seconds less per year due to their orbital speed and slightly weaker gravity. The Whirlpool galaxy has a smaller companion galaxy that's passed through its disk, triggering star formation in the beautiful spiral arms we observe. Barred spiral galaxies have a central bar-shaped structure made of stars. About 2/3 of spiral galaxies, including the Milky Way, are barred. The planet Kelt 9b has a side permanently facing its star where temperatures exceed 4,000 degrees, hot enough to vaporize metals. Einstein's general relativity predicts that gravitational waves travel at the speed of light, a prediction confirmed when gravitational waves and light from the same neutron-star merger arrived at Earth simultaneously. The Sun will spend most of its red giant phase with a helium core surrounded by a hydrogen-burning shell. Eventually, the core will become hot enough for helium fusion. Mercury's core makes up about 85% of the planet's radius, a much higher proportion than any other planet. It may have lost much of its outer layers in a giant impact. The universe's first stars were probably massive, hundreds of times the Sun's mass, and short-lived, ending in supernova explosions that seeded space with the first heavy elements. The Sloan Digital Sky Survey has mapped over a quarter of the sky and catalogued hundreds of millions of objects, providing the foundation for countless discoveries. Jupiter's 4 large moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede and Callisto, are locked in orbital resonances. For every orbit Ganymede makes, Europa makes 2 and Io makes 4. The Sun's output varies by only about 0.1% over its 11-year cycle, but even this small change affects Earth's climate measurably. Neutron star mergers create heavy elements like gold and platinum through rapid neutron capture. Much of the gold on Earth came from ancient neutron star collisions. The Virgo supercluster contains our local group and thousands of other galaxy groups and clusters. We're located in one of its outer filaments. Olympus Mons has a summit caldera complex containing multiple overlapping craters. Its eruptions likely occurred over hundreds of millions of years. The moon's near side always faces Earth due to tidal locking, but it wobbles slightly, an effect called libration, allowing us to see about 59% of its surface over time. The cosmic microwave background's temperature varies by only about 1 part in 100,000 across the sky. These tiny fluctuations represent the seeds of galaxies. Space telescopes avoid atmospheric interference, allowing sharper images and access to wavelengths blocked by Earth's atmosphere, like X-rays and most infrared. The asteroid belt is divided into inner and outer regions separated by the 3-to-1 Kirkwood gap. This gap corresponds to orbital resonance with Jupiter. As the universe expands, distant galaxies accelerate away from us. Eventually, galaxies beyond our local group will recede faster than light and become forever unobservable. Your journey through these 1001 space facts has taken you from the smallest scales of quantum mechanics to the largest structures in the cosmos. You've traveled past planets where glass rains sideways and stars so massive their gravity traps even light. You've learned about moons with underground oceans, asteroids made of metal, and galaxies engaged in slow-motion collisions spanning billions of years. The universe is vast, ancient, and strange beyond our wildest imaginings, yet every discovery brings new questions and deeper mysteries. As you rest now, remember that you are made of atoms forged in the hearts of dying stars, that you live on a pale blue dot orbiting an ordinary star in an ordinary galaxy, and yet you are part of something extraordinary. A universe that has become conscious of itself and learned to ask why. Sleep well under these distant stars we try and continue. The universe's fate remains uncertain. If dark energy continues accelerating expansion, galaxies will drift apart until each is alone in an observable universe, stars will burn out, and eventually even black holes will evaporate through Hawking radiation in a scenario called the Big Freeze. Pulsars were initially nicknamed LGM-1 for Little Green Men, when first discovered because their regular radio pulses seemed almost artificial. They turned out to be rapidly spinning neutron stars. The Solar and Heliospheric Observatory has discovered over 4,000 comets by watching for them as they pass near the Sun. Many are sun grazers that evaporate as they approach. Titan's lakes are not evenly distributed, most are near the North Pole. This asymmetry may be due to seasonal effects combined with the Moon's orbital eccentricity. The Ant Nebula is a planetary nebula with 2 lobes extending from a central dying star. It resembles an ant's head and thorax when viewed through telescopes. Gravitational lensing can create Einstein rings, perfect circles of light from background objects distorted around massive foreground galaxies. These are rare because perfect alignment is needed. The cosmic neutrino background should contain about 339 neutrinos per cubic centimeter left over from when the universe was 1 second old. They pass through matter almost without interaction. Mars has clouds, though they're much thinner than Earth's. Some are water ice clouds, others form from frozen carbon dioxide during winter at the poles. The planet Kepler-10c was once thought to be a mega-Earth with 17 times Earth's mass, but later analysis suggested it might be less massive than initially believed. Haumea has 2 small moons named Hiaka and Namaka, after Hawaiian goddesses. The entire system likely formed from a massive collision that also created the ring around Haumea. Solar prominences are huge loops of plasma extending from the Sun's surface, guided by magnetic fields. Some can persist for weeks or even months. The asteroid Cleopatra is shaped like a dog bone, about 217 kilometers long. It has 2 small moons orbiting it. Cosmic strings, if they exist, would be remnants of symmetry breaking in the early universe. They'd be incredibly thin, but stretch across cosmic distances with enormous mass per unit length. The moon's mare, the dark plains, formed when asteroid impacts punctured the crust, allowing lava to flood low-lying areas. Most formed between 3 and 4 billion years ago. Planetary nebulae aren't related to planets despite the name. Early astronomers thought they looked like planetary disks through their telescopes. The Orion Nebula is a stellar nursery about 1,300 light-years away. It's visible to the naked eye as the middle star in Orion's sword. Brown dwarfs bridge the gap between planets and stars. The most massive brown dwarfs can fuse deuterium briefly, but they never sustain true hydrogen fusion. The Triangulum Galaxy is the 3rd largest member of our local group after Andromeda and the Milky Way. It's a spiral galaxy about 3 million light-years away. Jupiter's magnetosphere is so large that if we could see it, it would appear larger than the full moon in our sky, despite the planet's great distance. The Sun contains about 91% hydrogen and 9% helium by number of atoms. Everything else, all the heavier elements, makes up less than 1%. Mercury has a 24-hour day-night temperature swing of about 600 degrees Celsius, one of the most extreme temperature variations in the solar system. The planet HAT P7b has winds that change direction completely between its day and night sides, with wind speeds reaching thousands of kilometers per hour. Cosmic censorship hypothesis suggests nature abhors naked singularities and always hides them behind event horizons. It remains unproven. The Kuiper belt extends from about 30 to 55 astronomical units from the Sun. Beyond lies the scattered disk, where objects have more eccentric and inclined orbits. Supernova remnants expand into space at thousands of kilometers per second, sweeping up the interstellar medium and creating shock waves that can trigger new star formation. The Sun's visible surface, the photosphere, is only about 500 kilometers thick. Above it lies the chromosphere and corona. Europa's icy crust is estimated to be 15 to 25 kilometers thick, floating atop an ocean that may be 100 kilometers deep. The Planck satellite mapped the cosmic microwave background with unprecedented precision, revealing its temperature variations to millionths of a degree. Dwarf galaxies are the most common type of galaxy in the universe, though most of the stars reside in larger galaxies like spirals and ellipticals. The Moon's gravity is strong enough that it causes measurable bulges in Earth's solid crust, Earth tides, though they're much smaller than ocean tides. The asteroid belt's total mass has been depleted over time by gravitational interactions that ejected most material into the inner solar system or out beyond Neptune. Quasar redshifts can exceed 7, meaning we see them as they were when the universe was less than 1 billion years old. They show that supermassive black holes formed surprisingly early. The Sun loses about 4 million tons of mass every second through nuclear fusion, yet this is negligible compared to its total mass of 2 times 10 to the 30th kilograms. Miranda has a cliff called Verona Roofs that drops about 20 kilometers, the tallest known cliff face in the solar system. An object dropped from the top would take about 12 minutes to hit the bottom. The interstellar medium has different phases with vastly different temperatures and densities, from cold molecular clouds to million-degree hot ionized gas. Jupiter's south pole has cyclones arranged in a pentagon pattern surrounding one central cyclone. These are comparable in size to Earth's largest hurricanes. Time moves slower in stronger gravitational fields. Your head ages slightly faster than your feet throughout your lifetime, though the difference is immeasurably small. The Hubble constant measures how fast the universe is expanding. Current measurements from different methods yield slightly different values, a tension that puzzles cosmologists. Enceladus's geysers shoot water vapor and ice particles hundreds of kilometers into space. This material forms Saturn's diffuse E-ring. The Sun will eventually shed its outer layers as a planetary nebula, leaving behind a white dwarf core about the size of Earth, but with about half the Sun's current mass. Mirror variables are red giant stars that pulsate with periods of months to years, varying by factors of 100 or more in brightness. Mirror itself has a period of about 330 days. The local void is a vast underdense region of space adjacent to our local group. It contains far fewer galaxies than average. Jupiter's moon, Callisto, may have a subsurface ocean like Europa, though it's less certain. Its ancient, cratered surface shows no signs of geological activity. The cosmic distance ladder's lowest rungs use parallax, the apparent shift of nearby stars against background stars as Earth orbits the Sun. This works out to a few thousand light-years. Solar eclipses are possible because the Moon and Sun happen to have almost the same apparent size in our sky, an unlikely coincidence. In the distant past, the Moon was closer and appeared larger. The asteroid Hygeia is the fourth largest in the asteroid belt and may qualify as a dwarf planet if observations confirm it's round. Neutron stars are among the densest objects in the universe. A sugar cube-sized amount of neutron star material would weigh as much as Mount Everest. The Sombrero Galaxy is an unbarred spiral galaxy notable for its bright nucleus and large central bulge, surrounded by a prominent dust lane. Dark energy makes up about 68% of the universe's total mass energy content. We don't know what it is, only that it causes the expansion to accelerate. Triton orbits Neptune in the opposite direction of Neptune's rotation and is slowly spiraling inward. In about 3.6 billion years, it will either crash into Neptune or break apart. The asteroid Florence has two small moons, discovered during a close approach to Earth in 2017. Many near-Earth asteroids turn out to be binaries. Cosmic inflation predicts the universe is much larger than the observable universe, possibly infinite. We can only see the region from which light has had time to reach us. Jupiter's moon, Ganymede, generates its own magnetic field through a liquid iron core. This creates a magnetosphere within Jupiter's larger one. The Perseid meteor shower occurs every August when Earth passes through debris left by comet Swift-Tuttle. The meteors appear to radiate from the constellation Perseus. Solar wind consists of charged particles, mainly electrons and protons, streaming from the Sun's corona at hundreds of kilometers per second. The planet Osiris, officially HD 209458b, was the first exoplanet discovered to have an atmosphere. It's also evaporating, creating a comet-like tail. Globular clusters orbit in galactic halos and contain some of the oldest stars in the universe. Their ages help establish a minimum age for the universe itself. The Tarantula Nebula in the Large Magellanic Cloud is one of the most active star-forming regions known. It contains some of the most massive stars ever discovered. Space isn't completely cold. The cosmic microwave background provides a minimum temperature of about 2.7 Kelvin everywhere in the universe. Mars has seasons because its axis is tilted about 25 degrees, similar to Earth's 23.5 degrees. However, Martian seasons last twice as long because Mars takes longer to orbit the Sun. The Moon's surface layer, the regolith, is electrostatically charged by solar wind, causing dust particles to levitate slightly. This creates a tenuous dust atmosphere. Proxima Centauri has at least 2 planets, including Proxima b in the habitable zone. However, stellar flares might make it hostile to life as we know it. The Virgo cluster contains over 1,000 galaxies and lies about 53 million light-years away. It dominates our region of the universe gravitationally. Jupiter's gravity has both protected Earth from some impacts by deflecting or capturing objects and increased impacts by perturbing objects into Earth-crossing orbits. The net effect is debated. The Sun's corona is paradoxically millions of degrees hot, despite being farther from the core than the cooler photosphere. Magnetic reconnection is thought to be responsible. Kepler 452b is the most Earth-like exoplanet discovered so far. It orbits in its star's habitable zone and is only slightly larger than Earth. The ecliptic plane is inclined about 60 degrees to the galactic plane, which is why the Milky Way appears tilted relative to the planets' paths across our sky. ARP 273 is a pair of interacting galaxies connected by a bridge of stars and gas stretched between them by tidal forces. The Magellanic Stream is a long trail of gas stripped from the Magellanic Clouds by gravitational interactions with the Milky Way. It wraps around much of our sky. Cepheid variables were crucial for measuring cosmic distances. Henrietta Leavitt discovered the period luminosity relationship that made them useful as standard candles. The Sun's radiative zone extends from the core to about 70% of its radius. Energy moves through this region by radiation, taking thousands of years to traverse it. Mercury's orbit precesses its perihelion shifts by about 5,600 arcseconds per century. Einstein's general relativity explained the 43 arcseconds per century that Newton's physics couldn't account for. The asteroid Apophis will pass within about 32,000 kilometers of Earth in 2029, closer than geosynchronous satellites. There's no impact risk for at least the next century. Titan is the only moon with a dense atmosphere. Surface pressure is about 1.5 times Earth's at sea level. The Sun will remain a white dwarf for trillions of years, gradually cooling to become a black dwarf, a theoretical remnant that doesn't yet exist because the universe is too young. Interstellar space has been reached by only 2 spacecraft, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. They crossed the heliopause where solar wind gives way to the interstellar medium. The Bootes void is one of the largest known voids in the universe, about 330 million light-years in diameter. It contains far fewer galaxies than expected. Jupiter's winds blow in bands parallel to the equator, alternating direction. The fastest reach speeds of about 640 kilometers per hour. The Moon's gravity field is uneven due to mass concentrations called mascons, dense regions left by ancient asteroid impacts. These cause orbiting spacecraft to slowly change altitude. Hubble's law states that galaxies recede from us at speeds proportional to their distance. This relationship revealed the universe's expansion. The planet HD 189733b appears deep blue like Neptune due to silicate particles in its atmosphere, but it rains molten glass there, driven by winds of thousands of kilometers per hour. Dark matter doesn't interact with electromagnetic radiation. It doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light. We detect it only through gravitational effects. The Sun wobbles slightly as the planets orbit because both orbit their common center of mass. This wobble is how we detect many exoplanets around other stars. Olympus Mons has such gentle slopes, averaging only 5 degrees, that standing on it, you might not realize you're on a mountain. The caldera at the top plunges 85 kilometers deep in places. The Oort cloud is thought to be a spherical shell surrounding the solar system, possibly containing trillions of icy bodies. No Oort cloud object has been directly observed yet. Neptune's atmosphere has the fastest winds in the solar system, reaching 2,000 kilometers per hour. These winds blow in the opposite direction to the planet's rotation. The local group spans about 10 million light-years and contains over 80 galaxies, though most are small dwarf galaxies orbiting the 3 large spirals. Europa's surface is crisscrossed with cracks and ridges, constantly reformed as the icy crust flexes from tidal heating. Very few impact craters are visible, indicating a geologically young surface. Time dilation becomes extreme near black holes. An astronaut hovering just outside the event horizon would age much slower than someone far away. Minutes for them could be years for distant observers. The ecliptic is defined by Earth's orbital plane, but it also marks where you'll find the Sun, Moon, and planets in the sky, which is why they all follow roughly the same path. Mimas's Herschel crater is 1/3 the Moon's diameter. The impact that created it nearly shattered Mimas completely. The Cassini division is the most prominent gap in Saturn's rings, about 4,800 kilometers wide. It's not empty but contains significantly less material than adjacent rings. Betelgeuse is so large that if placed at our Sun's position, its surface would extend beyond Mars's orbit. Astronomers have directly imaged bright spots and dark regions on its surface. Cosmic rays can penetrate spacecraft and astronauts' bodies, creating flashes of light in their eyes as particles pass through their retinas and optic nerves. The Sun's luminosity will increase steadily over its remaining main sequence lifetime. In about 1 billion years, Earth will become too hot for liquid water to exist on the surface. Saturn's rings are probably relatively young, perhaps only a few 100 million years old. They may be the remains of a destroyed moon. Astronomers have detected molecules in interstellar space that would be considered poisons on Earth, including cyanide and formaldehyde. Space is chemically rich and complex. The speed of light creates a cosmic speed limit. Nothing with mass can reach or exceed it, and even light takes billions of years to cross the observable universe. And with that final fact, our journey through the cosmos comes to a gentle end. 1001 facts about space, about the vast, mysterious universe we inhabit. Close your eyes now and drift into sleep, knowing that above you, beyond the atmosphere, beyond the moon and planets, beyond our sun and the Milky Way itself, the universe continues its ancient dance. Galaxies turn, stars are born and die, black holes devour matter, and space itself expands into an uncertain future. You are a small part of something unimaginably large, and yet you are here, conscious and aware, able to contemplate it all. Rest now. The stars will still be there tomorrow. Retry and continue. The pale blue dot photograph taken by Voyager 1 from 6 billion kilometers away shows Earth as a tiny speck suspended in a sunbeam. Carl Sagan reflected that everything humanity has ever experienced happened on that pale blue dot. Kepler's laws of planetary motion, discovered in the early 1600s, describe how planets orbit the Sun in ellipses. These laws worked perfectly, but no one understood why until Newton explained them through gravity. The Sun rotates faster at its equator than at its poles, taking about 25 days at the equator but 35 days near the poles. This differential rotation twists magnetic field lines and drives solar activity. Io's volcanoes erupt material at speeds up to 1 kilometer per second, fast enough that plumes can reach hundreds of kilometers high in the moon's low gravity and thin atmosphere. The asteroid belt could never have formed a planet even without Jupiter's interference. There simply isn't enough material. The total mass is only about 4% of the moon's mass. NGC 6302 is a planetary nebula with a central white dwarf that has a surface temperature of about 200,000 degrees Celsius, making it one of the hottest known stars. The anthropic principle observes that the universe's physical constants seem fine-tuned for life. If many values were slightly different, stars, planets, and life couldn't exist. Whether this is coincidence, necessity, or evidence of a multiverse remains debated. Saturn's moon Enceladus has a subsurface ocean detected by Cassini. The spacecraft flew through the geysers and detected organic molecules, salts, and evidence of hydrothermal activity. The Sun's magnetic field extends throughout the solar system, carried by the solar wind. This creates the heliosphere, a magnetic bubble protecting us from some galactic cosmic rays. Trojan asteroids share Jupiter's orbit, clustered around the L4 and L5 Lagrange points. The Greeks and Trojans are two groups named after heroes from Homer's Iliad. Cosmic strings would create distinctive patterns in the cosmic microwave background if they existed. Searches for these signatures have so far come up empty. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has discovered recurring slope lineae, dark streaks that appear seasonally on Martian slopes. They might be caused by flowing briny water, though this interpretation is controversial. Gravitational waves carry energy away from their sources. Binary systems slowly spiral together as they radiate gravitational waves, eventually merging in final seconds of intense emission. The Whirlpool Galaxy's interaction with its companion has created density waves in its disk that compress gas clouds, triggering star formation in the beautiful spiral arms we observe. Jupiter's atmosphere is divided into zones and belts, bright zones where gas rises and darker belts where it sinks. The boundaries between them host the fastest winds. The Kuiper Belt was theorized to exist before it was observed. The first Kuiper Belt object besides Pluto wasn't discovered until 1992. Wolf-Rayet stars have powerful stellar winds that blow away several Earth masses of material per year. These winds enrich the interstellar medium with heavy elements. Mars's largest volcano, Olympus Mons, is a shield volcano like those in Hawaii, but vastly larger. It probably grew so large because Mars lacks plate tectonics to move the crust over the hot spot. The local bubble is thought to have been created by multiple supernova explosions from a cluster of massive stars that formed together and died over a few million years. Quaoar is a large Kuiper Belt object about half Pluto's diameter. It has a small moon named Weywot after a creation deity in the mythology of the Tongva people. The Sun will eventually become a red giant so large that Mercury, Venus, and possibly Earth will be engulfed. The remaining planets will continue orbiting the white dwarf remnant. Pulsars slow down as they age, losing rotational energy to magnetic fields and particle winds. The slowdown rate helps astronomers estimate their ages. The asteroid Bennu has a rubble pile structure held together weakly by gravity. NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft found the surface so loosely packed that if you stepped on it, you might sink in. Cosmic voids aren't completely empty. They contain some galaxies and dark matter, just far less than average. They appear to be expanding faster than the universe's overall expansion rate. The Sun's core fuses about 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium every second, converting about 4 million tons of matter into energy via Einstein's equation E equals mc squared. Europa's ice shell shows evidence of past or present subsurface plate tectonics, where sections of ice crust sink back into the warmer ice below, analogous to Earth's oceanic plates. The Sloan Great Wall contains about 10,000 galaxies. Despite its enormous size, it's still a coherent structure bound by gravity. Neutron stars can spin hundreds of times per second. The fastest known pulsar, PSR J1748-2446 AD, rotates 716 times per second. Mars has dust devils much larger than those on Earth. Some tower 20 kilometers high and can be several kilometers wide at their base. The Sun will spend about 100 million years as a red giant before expelling its outer layers. The planetary nebula it creates will be visible for about 10,000 years. HD 897333 is a red giant star, so large it would fill the space between the Sun and Venus if placed at the solar system's center. The Moon's regolith contains tiny glass beads created when meteorite impacts melted and rapidly cooled lunar soil. These preserve information about ancient solar wind composition. Gliese 710 is a nearby red dwarf with at least one super-Earth planet. It's one of the closest known exoplanet systems at just 12 light-years away. The Great Attractor is actually part of an even larger structure called the Shapley supercluster, which lies about 600 million light-years away. Jupiter's magnetosphere creates intense radiation belts that would be lethal to unshielded humans in minutes. This complicates plans to explore Jupiter's moons. The observable universe contains about 10 to the 53 kilograms of ordinary matter. Dark matter adds roughly 5 times more. Titan has lakes of liquid methane and ethane near its poles. Cassini's radar revealed hundreds of some as large as the Great Lakes on Earth. The Bullet cluster observation showed that dark matter passed through itself during the collision, while normal matter was slowed by electromagnetic interactions, providing direct evidence for dark matter's existence. Mars once had a much thicker atmosphere and liquid water on its surface. Most of the atmosphere was lost to space after Mars lost its global magnetic field. Gravitational lensing magnifies distant galaxies, allowing us to see objects that would otherwise be too faint. The most distant galaxies are only visible thanks to this cosmic magnification. The Sun's core is so dense that a cubic centimeter weighs about 150 grams, over 12 times the density of lead despite temperatures of 15 million degrees. Enceladus's geysers are thought to be powered by tidal heating from Saturn, similar to the process that makes Io volcanic. Water from the subsurface ocean vents into space through cracks in the ice. The cosmic microwave background was discovered accidentally in 1964 by Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, who initially thought it was caused by pigeon droppings on their antenna. Mercury's core makes up about 61% of the planet's volume. Earth's core, by comparison, is only about 17% by volume. The Laniakea supercluster contains about 100,000 galaxies, including the Milky Way. Its name means immense heaven in Hawaiian. Jupiter's moon Io orbits so close to Jupiter that if you stood on Io's surface, Jupiter would fill about 20 degrees of the sky, about 40 times the apparent size of the moon from Earth. The Hubble Ultra Deep Field image contains about 10,000 galaxies in a tiny patch of sky only 1/10 the diameter of the full moon, revealing the universe's incredible richness. Saturn radiates more heat than it receives from the Sun, like Jupiter. This heat comes from gravitational contraction and helium rain falling through the interior. The Sun has been getting gradually brighter throughout Earth's history. Early Earth received about 30% less solar energy than today, yet somehow avoided freezing. The faint young sun paradox. Mirror variables pulse because nuclear fusion in their cores creates instabilities that make them alternately expand and contract, changing their brightness dramatically. The asteroid Psyche may be the exposed iron-nickel core of a protoplanet that was stripped of its outer layers by collisions. It could teach us about planetary cores, which are normally hidden beneath thousands of kilometers of rock. Cosmic inflation explains why the universe is so uniform. Before inflation, the observable universe was small enough for temperature to equalize. Then inflation stretched it to enormous size. The moon's maria formed when lava filled impact basins. They're darker than the highlands because they contain more iron-rich minerals. Exomoons, moons orbiting exoplanets, should exist, but none have been confirmed yet. The challenges of detection are formidable given the tiny signals they'd create. The Sun contains enough hydrogen fuel to continue nuclear fusion for about another 5 billion years. It's currently about halfway through its main sequence lifetime. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is an anticyclonic storm, rotating counterclockwise. Wind speeds at its edge can reach 450 kilometers per hour. The Drake equation's purpose isn't to give a definitive answer, but to organize our thinking about what factors determine how many civilizations might exist. Saturn's rings cast shadows on the planet below, visible as dark bands during certain seasons. The rings themselves experience seasons as Saturn orbits the Sun. The asteroid belt's largest object, Ceres, contains more water ice than all of Earth's freshwater combined, locked in its mantle beneath a rocky outer layer. Pulsars are cosmic lighthouses, their beams sweeping across space as they rotate. We only detect them if a beam happens to sweep past Earth. The Sun loses mass through solar wind and radiation. Over its lifetime, it will lose about 30% of its initial mass before becoming a white dwarf. Mars's moon Phobos will eventually crash into Mars or break apart to form a ring. It's already within Mars's Roche limit for a body held together by gravity alone. Gravitational waves from the Big Bang itself may exist as a background signal, like the electromagnetic cosmic microwave background. Detecting them would probe the universe's first moments. The Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope has detected over 5,000 gamma ray sources, including pulsars, supernova remnants, and distant blazars with jets pointed toward Earth. Europa's surface shows very few impact craters, suggesting it's geologically young, perhaps only 20 to 180 million years old. The Sun's outer layers will expand to become a red giant in about 5 billion years. Earth's orbit may migrate outward as the Sun loses mass, possibly sparing it from being engulfed. Hyperion tumbles chaotically as it orbits Saturn rather than being tidally locked. Its irregular shape and the gravitational influence of Titan prevent it from settling into stable rotation. The cosmic web's filaments contain most of the universe's baryonic matter. Galaxies form where filaments intersect, leaving voids relatively empty. Mars's atmosphere is about 1% as dense as Earth's, making it too thin to support liquid water at most locations. Water ice sublimates directly to vapor. The Sun's radiative zone has temperatures of about 7 million degrees Celsius. Despite the heat, energy moves relatively slowly through this region by photons being repeatedly absorbed and re-emitted. Callisto is the most heavily cratered object in the solar system because its ancient surface has been preserved unchanged for billions of years. Unlike other large moons, it shows no signs of internal geological activity. The Magellanic Clouds are visible to the naked eye from the southern hemisphere as fuzzy patches. Indigenous peoples in the southern hemisphere incorporated them into their mythologies long before European astronomers. Quasars are powered by supermassive black holes consuming gas at rates of several solar masses per year. The infalling matter heats up to millions of degrees and radiates enormous amounts of energy. The Moon's South Pole Aitken Basin is one of the largest impact craters in the solar system, about 2,500 kilometers in diameter and up to 8 kilometers deep. Space is expanding everywhere, even between atoms, but electromagnetic and gravitational forces hold structures together on small scales. Only on cosmological scales does expansion dominate. The Sun's convective zone extends from about 200,000 kilometers below the surface to the photosphere. Here, hot plasma rises, cools, and sinks in a continuous cycle. Enceladus is only about 500 kilometers in diameter, yet its subsurface ocean and hydrothermal activity make it one of the most promising places to search for extraterrestrial life. The cosmic distance ladder's higher rungs use Type 1a supernova as standard candles. Their consistent peak brightness allows distance measurements to billions of light years. Jupiter's atmospheric pressure increases rapidly with depth. At depths of several thousand kilometers, the pressure becomes so extreme that hydrogen becomes metallic. The Sun will eventually shed its outer layers in a planetary nebula, creating a beautiful expanding shell of glowing gas around the white dwarf remnant. Mars has channels carved by ancient floods, some of which carried more water than all of Earth's rivers combined. These catastrophic floods carved massive channels in just weeks or months. The Moon's gravity creates tides in Earth's oceans, but also gradually slows Earth's rotation through tidal friction. Days are getting longer by about 1.8 milliseconds per century. The observable universe's radius continues to grow as light from more distant regions has time to reach us, but the expansion means we'll never see light from beyond a certain distance. Neutron stars have such intense gravitational fields that light from their far side is bent around them, allowing observers to see more than half the surface at once. The Sun's surface gravity is about 28 times Earth's. A person weighing 70 kilograms on Earth would weigh nearly 2,000 kilograms on the Sun's surface if they could somehow stand there. And so our journey continues through the infinite cosmos. Each fact is a star in the constellation of human knowledge, points of light illuminating the vast darkness of the unknown. Rest your mind now. Let these thoughts drift like stardust through your consciousness as sleep approaches. The universe will be here when you wake.